Good morning, everyone. This week's Torah portion is Sefer Bamidbar, the book of Bamidbar, which is also known as the book of Numbers, Sefer Pikudim, the counting and the census of the Jewish people. The Torah begins by counting the Jewish nation, and then more specifically the tribe of Levi, and then more specifically the family of Aaron, the high priest. When the Torah introduces the counting of Aaron's children, the Torah says these are the offspring of Moses and Aaron on the day that Moses spoke to God at Mount Sinai. And then it lists the four sons of Aaron, Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, Itamar. And Rashi asked the question. It began by saying, these are the children of Moses and Aaron. And then it only lists the sons of Aaron, who are the nephews of Moses. So why does it say these are the children of Moses and Aaron? And furthermore, what does the names of the children of Aaron have to do with the day that God gave the Torah to Moses at Mount Sinai, that God communicated with Moses? And Rashi shares with us a beautiful teaching from our rabbis, that this verse is here to teach us that whoever teaches Torah to someone else's child, it's as though they begot, bore, gave birth to that child. That since Moses received the Torah from God and taught it to the sons of Aaron, since he was their teacher of Torah, therefore the Torah considers it as though Aaron's children were his children too, because he helped raise them and give birth to their potential, their spiritual potential, through the teachings of Torah. Parenting is not just giving birth to a child, but it's raising that child and realizing their full potential. And since the teacher of Torah is the one who gives birth to their spiritual potential, igniting the soul of the child with a passion, with a love for Hashem, for Torah, for mitzvot, for a life of good deeds, therefore it's as though the teacher of Torah is also a parent to that child. An incredible story that happened. There's a fellow by the name of Steve Armin, whose parents are buried in a cemetery in Staten Island. And every year before Rosh Hashanah, he would go out to the graves of his parents to pray and visit his parents in the cemetery. And one year he goes out to the cemetery in Staten Island, and as he's about to leave, he sees a hearse pull into the cemetery. And a family gets out, and they're going to bury their loved one. And then they come running over to him, and they say, we're short one for the minyan to say Kaddish. Do you mind helping us? And so he said, of course, it's a big mitzvah. He went to the grave and he stood there with the family during the ceremony, and then they concluded with the Kaddish. And then the family got up to leave, and they started going back to their car. And Steve says to them, 1 minute, you didn't cover the grave with earth, as is the mitzvah to do. And they said, no, it's okay. We spoke to the funeral home, the cemetery. They're going to have the caretakers come with the tractors and cover it with dirt. And they get into the car and they leave. Steve is standing there over this fresh grave with no earth over the casket. And he remembers that he learned in yeshiva that it's a mitzvah to cover the body and the casket. And furthermore, that if there's no one to do it, it's called a mes mitzvah, a deceased person. It's a mitzvah to care for their burial. So when the caretakers come with the tractor, he says to them, it's okay, you could go, I'll take care of it. And he takes a shovel, and he stands there for 45 minutes shoveling earth, covering up the grave properly. As he's about to leave, he takes a look at the marker, and he sees the name of the person, and that he's from Baltimore, Maryland. He gets into his car, and he starts driving home, and he's thinking, what an unusual experience. I go to my parents' grave and asked to be a part of a minyan, and then I'm left there burying the person myself. And since he had learned in a yeshiva in Baltimore as a high school student in Ner Yisrael, he decided he's going to call his rabbi back in yeshiva and ask him, by any chance, does he know who this Jew from Baltimore was? He calls his rabbi and he tells him the story, and suddenly there's a silence on the other end of the phone. He says, Rabbi, are you still there? The rabbi says, I can't believe the story you're telling me. He says, why? He says, do you remember when you came from Seattle, Washington to learn in Baltimore in the yeshiva in Ner Yisrael? He says, what happened was your mother couldn't afford to send you to yeshiva. She couldn't afford to pay tuition. So your mother bought you a one-way ticket and sent you. And when you arrived, I called her and said, why is he here? You didn't register him. She said, I can't afford to pay, but he needs to study Torah. Please accept him into the yeshiva. I said, I can't afford to. The yeshiva doesn't have the means to take a student without tuition. She cried and begged me. So I said, let me see what I can do. And I thought to myself, who's a Jewish philanthropist with a warm Jewish heart, that maybe would sponsor your tuition? I called this person, I told him the story, and he said, I will sponsor this boy's tuition throughout his high school years. And Steve says to the rabbi, Rabbi, you never told me this story. Why don't you ever tell it to me? He says, because the Jew asked that I'll only do it on condition that it remains anonymous, that no one, even you or your family, doesn't know that he's paying for it. And then the rabbi from the yeshiva tells Steve, the Jew you buried today was that Jew who paid for your tuition. Indeed, he was like his spiritual father, enabling to live a life of Torah and to know about the mitzvah of taking care of the burial of the dead. And God brought about that he should have the honor to do the mitzvah and take care of him. When we support Torah study, give Jewish children a Jewish education, either by teaching them directly or enabling our yeshivot to teach Torah to children, we become like their parents and have the nachas and the reward in their life of good deeds. Have a wonderful day.